All right, guys, welcome back to Road to 2000, where I try to reach 2000 ELO for the first time ever. Today, we're taking a look at the game that put me over 1800. So this is our current graph, our rating graph. It's a pretty nice graph at the moment, pretty up and to the right. This really nice streak here. So yeah, I'm on a pretty big winning streak. I think it's been 5 games. Yeah, this was my 5th game in a row that I won. And I played this game about a month ago. So we played this on August 20th. Today's September 16th. And our opponent was Akuleshi, who is 1743 rated. And the themes of today's game are number 1, never give up, as you'll see. Number 2, how to convert a winning endgame. And within that, we're going to talk a lot about knight spacing to avoid checks, like where to position your king, as well as simplifying, trading off pieces. But oftentimes that's easier said than done. And this game had it was pretty difficult to try to simplify, but in the end, I managed to do it. So we're going to take a look at some mechanisms, some considerations for how to do that. Let's take a look. All right, so game review. So we played about 85% accuracy, pretty good. Game rating 2100. Those are always just a rough indicator, but that's pretty solid. And let's take a look. So I started off with king's pawn. Opponent goes knight c6, which I am not familiar with at all. A couple of people have done this against me recently. Apparently it's called the Nimzovich opening or whatever. I don't know. I need to look it up. If you have any YouTube recommendations, let me know in the comments. But whenever your opponent makes a weird thing, if you're not familiar, you just got to make regular opening moves. Fight for the center, develop pieces, castle. Same business. So I tried to take control of the center. They fight back with e5, and I go d5, hitting the knight. From here, I went bishop g3, just thinking, okay, I'll add a defender here. I don't know what I'm doing at this point, so don't use this as a template. But just making developing moves. Bishop c5. Here I went bishop g5 because we kind of get a good tempo on the queen. If we can induce f6, that would be good. Usually f6 is a mistake for black because it opens up this diagonal and makes the king less safe long term, makes it hard to castle if white gets a bishop on that diagonal. But the opponent went knight f6, which makes sense, developing. Here I went queen d2, just continuing the development. Opponent castles. Here I played c3. I wasn't really sure what exactly to do. I think in the next move I play a4, and I'm setting up some maybe trapping ideas on the bishop. Also, my idea was to maybe just gain some space on the queen side. But, at this point, I wasn't exactly sure what I was doing. And yeah, here I played a4, and black has to respond to this because if they do nothing, I'm going to go b4, bishop b6, and then a5, and then the bishop's trapped. So opponent goes a6, giving a square for the bishop, which makes sense. We continue with the plan anyways, grabbing some space. So b4, bishop a7. And here I went c4, just kind of overprotecting this pawn in case this one falls at some point. Also, maybe with the idea of playing c5, opening maybe a file over here. I don't know, just making moves. Opponent goes h6. I go bishop back to e3, just maintaining this bishop. You could go h4, but they can trade you off with the knight in this case. So I think trading bishop for bishop makes more sense. So bishop takes, queen takes. And the reason for that, guys, if you're not familiar, bishops are considered slightly better than knights. So, at higher levels, that's a little bit more of a consideration. Okay, so knight h5 by the opponent, threatening to go knight f4, which is a pretty strong idea. It's pretty annoying. If they get a knight in here, let's say a castle, they get a knight in here, attacking my bishop, which my bishop is not good at the moment, so maybe it'd be okay if they trade, but I decided to just prevent this idea. So by going g3, now I'm controlling the f4 square, so they can never do that. I don't know if it was necessary. I mean, the computer says this was a good move. Okay. So opponent goes f5. Now, why don't you guys think for 5 to 10 seconds, what would you play here as white? And if you do nothing, what is black going to do? Do you have to respond, prevent that? Take 10 seconds. So I think if we do nothing and black plays f4, that looks really strong for black. They're going to be able to weaken up our kingside pawns where we still plan to castle to. And additionally, they're going to be able to open this file for their rook. The bishop would probably come in. So I think I kind of had to take here, and that's the computer agrees that was the best move. Bishop recaptures f5. And here I decided, well, let's just keep developing, right? I didn't see a need to take here, but apparently I was supposed to, because my opponent could have taken here and then I recapture, and then they had this queen move, queen f6, threatening the knight, and then when the knight moves, then they're going to take on f2. Did I say f6 on this? I meant f3. And yeah, they're going to take on f2. So that was kind of a crazy line, but my opponent didn't see that, and neither did I. The computer showed me that later on. So yeah, opponent goes queen f6 here, which makes sense. Now they're piling on the pressure this way. Now, if you trade and the queen recaptures, they still have all that pressure on these squares. So see if you guys can find the move that I played here to kind of prevent that possibility. So I played knight e4, which I was pretty proud of in the game. Number one, we're hitting the queen with tempo. Number two, if they capture, which is what they played in the game, then we recapture with the bishop. Now the bishop is pretty strong, and the bishop is defending the knight. So overall, this kind of like solved all my problems. So yeah, I was feeling pretty good at this point in the game. Rook to e8. Here I wasn't exactly sure what to do. I mean, yeah, you could castle. I went b5 with the idea of maybe gain some space over here, maybe open something up, and then I can like kind of attack this way. Because black kind of has all their pieces over here now, so it's kind of cramped, and like I don't see how I would really break through. I mean, you could go like queen here or something, and then they just like move their knight though. So like, yeah, you could target this for a moment, but then they just disappear sort of. So yeah, I was thinking let's open something up on the queen side. Opponent goes b6. And what do you guys want to play here now as white? I'll give you 10 seconds. Think about your game plan. Are you going to go target something? Are you going to develop something? What do you want to play here? So I decided it was finally time to castle. So there are other good moves here, but I think it's time to get the king safety before I start attacking stuff. Opponent goes knight e7. And here I go knight a7, so maybe, or sorry, rook a7, and maybe that's the move you guys were thinking of instead of castling, which also would have been a good move. Opponent goes knight f5, attacking our queen. Also, my monitor is flickering like crazy right now. I hope my camera is not showing that on my face, but we'll see. It is a little trippy to look at. Okay, so knight f5, hitting our queen. I decide to go queen d3, and notice once we get out of the danger of this, we also have a little bit of like a fork threat here to keep in mind. Opponent goes rook e7. I think there was a problem with the pawn push though. I think if I push, they could maybe go like queen g6. Oh, this says, oh yeah, because they would get a tempo on the queen. Okay, never mind. Okay, so play continues. Our opponent goes rook e7. And in this position, I really wasn't sure how to make progress because, I mean, like this pawn is basically defended. I don't know how to add another attacker to that. I can't really do this. They're just going to take and take. I can't really jump in this way. I mean, we could trade, but like I don't see what that really does for me. So in this position, I decided maybe I can improve the position of my knight and get it over to c6 somehow. Because if I could get the knight on c6, I mean, you know, it's probably pretty annoying. I don't know that it really has substantial targets, but, you know, that's what I was thinking. And so I went knight e1 here with the idea of here, which might seem crazy, but like the way to figure out knight maneuvers is when you have kind of a position that's kind of more calm like this, where there's nothing happening like immediately, then you have time and you can think like, okay, I want to get my knight here. How could I do that? What path could I take? and you start looking at squares like, okay, I could like try this. Oh, that doesn't work because then I can't go here. Okay, so what if I go here, here, and then, oh, I can go this way. So you kind of figure it out that way. You kind of like reverse engineer it. And actually, guys, I forgot to mention the first step of the process, which is to figure out where you'd want to put the knight. So you have a knight that's not doing much. You want to think creatively about like, if I could put it anywhere on the board, on what square would I want to put the knight? So why don't you guys look at this board for a couple seconds? So the square I was targeting makes a lot of sense because it's an outpost, so there's no pawns here that could ever kick me away from this, and we'd be attacking this rook. So that's how I kind of first saw it. I was like, oh, it'd be nice to have a knight here to hit this. And I was like, oh, well, my knight's not doing anything. It's like really hemmed in. So like, what if I try to get it over this direction? So that was my thought process. And that's also mentioned in the book, How to Reassess Your Chess. He talks about that, where you want to think like creatively about like, okay, if I could achieve whatever I wanted and put this wherever I wanted, where would it be? And then once you see that goal, then you can like try to figure out how to actually make it happen. So yeah, knight e1. Opponent goes knight d4, which is quite annoying. That's a good outpost for their knight. And here I went knight c2 with the idea to basically trade this off, or I mean, maybe I'll go here at some point, but they instead went for knight f3 check. And apparently I was supposed to take this knight. Opponent goes back, now hitting my bishop. And ideally I'd like to keep this bishop because it's controlling a good diagonal. So I started looking at like, okay, I can't really go here. Oh, but maybe I can go here, and oh, I'm actually hitting this knight. Isn't this knight just trapped if we look at the knight? Can't really move anywhere. So I played bishop g6, but there's a massive problem with bishop g6. What does black play in response? See if you guys can find the move that my opponent played in the game. So the opponent goes e4, hitting my queen with tempo. So I have to move my queen somewhere, and then they're just going to simply pick up the bishop. I just don't have time to deal with both threats. So this was a blunder by me, and yeah, I mean, you have to just desperado here. So I took the pawn, and my opponent won my bishop. Now, this is a slow form game, and I know some people would resign after losing a piece like that. But the theme of today's game is never give up, because I've come back from much worse with less. So you got to keep fighting, guys. So in this position, yeah, what did I play here? So in this position, I played f3 with the idea that I just want to get this knight out of my business. Opponent goes knight c5, which makes sense. This is a strong outpost for the knight. And here I have to move the queen. I go queen a3. Number one, it's a good spacing for the knight, so the knight can't really attack me on this spacing of these squares. Number two, I'm controlling the a file, and I mean, I don't know that stacking really does anything over there, but like well, actually I can't really do that. But yeah, I was thinking like maybe I'll trade and, you know, try to access black's position from this side of the board. And here my opponent played rook e2 check, which looks like maybe they're picking up my knight. And I can't remember honestly if I saw this or not ahead of time. I might not have, but we have rook f2, so we're defending the knight indirectly, so everything's kind of okay. One problem though is that this rook is pinning our knight, our rook, to our king. So like this pawn is like not super well defended, and my opponent played queen takes f3, thinking that I couldn't recapture this way. But I think they overlooked that I still have my queen on a3. So I recapture, they recapture, and maybe they calculated this and they thought that this rook was pinned. But the problem is my king can actually take, and now I'm just up a piece. So I won the piece back because I won a rook there in that sequence. So that's why you never give up, guys. So now we have the upper hand. And I think, yeah, my opponent trades here. We trade. Okay, so in this position, look, we're up 2 pawns. I have a rook for a knight, and Oh yeah, just a rook for a knight. So it's not like a super simple win. My opponent has like an outpost for their knight, and yeah, it's not easy. So we're going to take a look at the battle and the process of how to convert this game. Opponent goes knight f6, and what would you guys play here as white? Step one, let's grab some material. So this pawn is hanging. Let's snatch it up. We can do that for free. Okay, so now we're up 3 points of material. That's good. Opponent goes knight e4 check. And here I go king e3. Oh, looks like maybe even this was even better. And here I want to talk about knight spacing a little bit. I've been meaning to do a YouTube video about this, but picking good knight spacing, picking good spacing for your king is very helpful against knights. So for example, in this spacing against the knight, they can't check you directly from the square. So it's going to take like 2 moves. Like they have to go like boom, boom for a check. This spacing is actually like the holy grail because it takes like 3 moves. So this knight would have to go like somewhere and then somewhere. And then notice after 2 moves, it's on a dark square. And then it has to move 3 times to come check you. So that spacing is especially good. Just to show you some other good spacings. If the knight is here and my king was here, that's also pretty good because it takes 2 squares. Bad spacing would be like here or here because they can check you immediately. Bad spacing is here or here because they can check you immediately. Bad spacing is here and here because they can check you immediately. Sorry, probably not the best explanations in the world ever, but hopefully it kind of helps. And also this spacing is pretty good because it takes 2 moves for them to check you. So that's a quick overview, but it's just something to keep in mind that you want to try to put your king on safe squares, especially in blitz games, but even in longer form games. Okay, opponent goes knight to c3. And here, I think I was kind of panicked. I was like, okay, I want to make sure I don't get like forked or something. In retrospect, this pawn is well defended, so I don't really have to worry about this. And it would have been better to just come after these pawns, I think. Yeah, that's what the computer said. But I mean, my king getting away from any checks, it's not the end of the world. So we still have a winning position. Okay, so knight 3 to e4 is how you denote that, by the way, because both of these knights could move. And here, I'm trying to mobilize the pieces now. So knight e3, because this knight was not really doing anything. Maybe I could have even gone like this way. It might have been even stronger. Opponent goes knight g5 check. And here, where do you guys want to put the king? So if you go... Okay, you have a few options. You have here, 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 here. Where do you want to put the king? Here would not be good just from a like avoiding problem standpoint because you can get checked. Here makes sense sort of because there are no immediate checks, but you're kind of going backwards. And like generally in the endgame, you want to mobilize your king towards the center or even infiltrate into your opponent's camp. So I don't really want to go like this way. So I go king e2 because now we're still kind of in the middle of the board. And we have a good spacing between the 2 knights, so they can't immediately check us. Opponent goes g6, preventing this knight from jumping in and winning this pawn. Oh, maybe that was my idea with this, was I wanted to just come win this pawn. So now, give it some thought here, guys. There's a strong sequence of moves. There's a strong plan here. How are you going to make progress in this position? Actually, though, I guess this move was probably... pretty strong, but I found a different plan. I found a plan for the knight, so give it 5 to 10 seconds. So my plan was knight g4, attacking the pawn. They have to do something. Keep in mind their king is shut to the back rank, so they have to push the pawn basically. I guess I could also maybe do this. And I go knight f6 check. King has to move. Now keep in mind, actually, what happens if the king goes to the corner? What would you guys play as white? Checkmate. This is called the Arabian mate. Oh, wait, I'm tripping. Okay, never mind. Why did I think that? Okay, whatever. Ignore me. I forgot the other knight controls this square. But Arabian mate, keep that in mind for some games. All right, guys, and actually there was a way to kind of make this idea still work. So this is the only defender of this square. So how can we kick this knight? So maybe you already saw this, but we have h4 attacking the knight. If the knight moves, we just immediately checkmate black. So they have to keep the knight here and try to bring the other one over to defend it. So now we win the knight. They could trade knight for knight here, or if they try to take this pawn, then we have kind of a crazy line where we're going to checkmate them because black is totally trapped in this corner, totally paralyzed, and this knight is not defended. So we can actually just kind of walk up with our king, and black is almost in Zugzwang here. If they move the knight, they get mated. So basically the only move they have is h4. And from here, we can take this pawn. And after this knight, we're threatening now to win it. And after it moves, we're just going to checkmate black. Now, you have to be careful with stalemates in these types of positions because black doesn't have a lot of moves here. So like if they go knight f7, if they didn't have this pawn, you couldn't take the knight because this would be a stalemate. But luckily, they do have a pawn, so they have a legal move, and then you mate them. So pretty cool. Okay, king to f8. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Now you guys have to find a really strong move here that ties into the theme of simplifying. Ties into today's theme of simplifying. So I played knight d7 check. I guess you could also maybe even go knight h7 check, and then after they take, you recapture. But the idea of my move was I just want to win this knight. I just want to like try to liquidate. You know, these knights are just super tricky, and let's just get rid of that. So they took, and I recaptured. And they went knight here trying to defend this pawn. So I go rook b7 attacking here. If I guess I could have also gone like, could I not have gone rook up, king up right away? Yeah, this would have been the best move actually. Just removing the defender and then winning this pawn. And I'm activating the king further, so that would have been the strongest. But yeah, in the game I played rook b7. For some reason, the computer is saying both of these moves were both the best. So go me. By the way, guys, king d3 is also pretty good here, except for the fact that they fork your rook and win the game. So yeah, don't go king d3. It's pretty crazy how tricky this knight is. I mean, you would never think that going here, like these pieces are so far away, there's so much in between. It's crazy that this is gonna drop the rook, but it does. So that just shows you always got to have that constant vigilance. All right, opponent goes knight c3 check. And where do you guys want to put the king here? So I go king d3, and notice the spacing is good, so they can't immediately check us from the spacing. Opponent goes knight b4, threatening to fork us. So you gotta be really careful here. And I played king d4, which the computer said was the best move because in this spacing, they can't check us immediately. So even if they jump in here, we have time to just move our rook and everything's fine. Opponent moves the king over, king e8. And also when the knight is here, they're defending. So it's a little tricky here now, right? Because they're defending this. They brought the king over, so I can't come target this. But there's one last weakness, and I almost included this as a theme, and maybe I should have. Maybe we'll add it. Attacking weaknesses. So earlier in this game, when I brought this rook up to attack this weak pawn on c7, and then I was able to infiltrate through there, and then now we're coming after another weakness on g6. Okay, opponent goes knight c5. Now, can we take this pawn on g6? I think we can. I think we can. A little bit of a trick question for you guys. But you got to check all of the forks. So like right now, they are actually threatening to fork us. right? So it's really tricky. So you have to imagine, okay, what if I take this? What's black going to play? Okay, they do have a check. Is the check any good? Okay, no, it's not. So then, yeah, you confidently take. Opponent goes knight b3 check. And here I go king e3, again, trying to maintain a good spacing against this knight so that they don't have easy checks. Like you could go king e4, but like then you're giving them another check, and like, you know, you just kind of don't really want to sit on a checkable square. So king e3, opponent goes knight a5, attacking our weak pawn. How do you guys want to defend this pawn? Or do you have to defend this pawn at all? Can you maybe do something else? So if you said rook takes pawn, unfortunately, tragically, you're now losing because you just got forked. So you got to always be super careful, and that's the danger of staying on a checkable square, or in this case, a forkable square. King d3. Again, notice the spacing. I'm not going up because if I go up and I'm sitting on the square forever, there might be some super annoying check at some moment. They could fork me even. So I go to a not forkable square. Okay, opponent goes knight b7, defending their pawn. So they're really not making it easy. Like, this really is a battle. They're doing a great job of defending these somehow. How do you guys want to proceed from here? So here I went rook g7, attacking the knight, forcing the knight to move from here. They go for the check, and I go king e3, again getting a good spacing here. They go knight b3, and now what do you guys want to play here? Because, I mean, it's not that easy to make progress. If you come up with the rook, they can come up with the king. So what's your plan here? Attack another weakness. So I went rook h7, trying to come after this pawn, and they simply can't protect it. So knight moves, but they're making the counter attack, which makes sense. And we're going to repeat the same procedure. King d3, getting that weird spacing so that they don't have any checks on us, and it gives us a little bit of time to breathe. Knight moves, and now what do you guys want to play here? Now we take the pawn. Take the pawn with the rook. Now we're up 5 points of material. We have 2 outside pass pawns. We have a rook for a knight. We have a more active king than our opponent. So we've slowly ground up that advantage to a bigger and bigger advantage, and we're close to finishing it out. But we got to make sure we don't get forked, don't lose our rook, things like that. So opponent goes knight c5, check. Again, we go king e3, getting the awkward spacing. Computer says you could go up because, yeah, they don't really have a good check. But, you know, as a matter of habit, you guys should get in the habit of this. Knight d7. Opponent goes knight d7. Now I want you guys to find the simplest, clearest path to winning this endgame. Find a plan. I want like a kind of a few move plan here. Give it 10 seconds, or you could also pause the video and think for longer, because this is a really good moment in the game. So here I realize if I can just get rid of this knight, life is good. I have 2 outside pass pawns. I don't need the rook versus knight advantage. Let's just get rid of the knight. So how can I do that? How can I force the trade of the knight? Rook h8, check. The king has to move, or if they block, I'm going to take. The king has to come up. Rook h7, check. King has to move. And I sacrifice the rook for the knight. And the computer actually said that was the best move. But also from a human perspective, that's just like, now I'm winning. Like, there's no question about it. There's no tricks. Black's done, right? So that's probably not intuitive for a lot of you guys. And I mean, it's not necessarily intuitive for me either, but this is something I consider doing because, like, you got to know when to liquidate. You got to know when to simplify, and you got to know when you're up enough material that you can give away like 5 points for 3 points. So check, check, check. We take away their only hope of winning. And from here, we actually don't even need all of these. We could just win with just these 2 pawns. And black can't like penetrate anywhere here because we control these squares. So, and our king is shutting them out from like going in this way. So it's a pretty easy win. But yeah, step 1, activate the king, get them to a more passive position. Step 2, you can start to roll some pawns forward. Here I decided to get an even more aggressive position with the king. And here I'm forcing them to decide which way do they want to go. If you go this way, then I'm going to step in here and I can just like march this pawn all the way. And black's king is actually stuck because I control this square and my king controls this square. So the king is just stuck in this little box. In the game, they went king g8 and I said, all right, I'm going to come take your pawns. And in this position, they resigned. So themes of today's game. Number 1, never give up, guys. Never give up. I made that early blunder, but my opponent blundered back like a few moves later, and then all of a sudden I had the edge, and I was the one, who was probably going to win. So never give up. Number 2, we looked at how to convert a not so easy endgame with a lot of tricky knights, a lot of trickiness. And that knight spacing is really important. In this game, maybe it wasn't always necessary in some moments, but it's still a good practice to get into. And number 2, we looked at how to simplify. So how to, attack some weaknesses when you have a moment to do so. We looked at how to trade off the rook for a knight to get rid of black's only chances of counterplay, their only tricks, right? So you got to know when to liquidate and even give up some material to do that. And that put us over the 1800 threshold. So that was it. Now, this was kind of provisional. As I mentioned in some of the last episodes, I hadn't been playing very consistently up to this point. So these games were worth like 20 points instead of like the normal 8. So yeah, we hit 1800, but it is a little bit like, we'll see. We'll see if I hold. So if you guys enjoyed that, make sure to drop a like on the channel. And if you want to see if the win streak continues, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you turn on the notification bell. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.